Well, President Trump is making mental health a focus of his efforts to curb gun violence. In meetings this week, the president said he aims to toughen background checks with mental health screenings and improve access to care. But while health experts welcome more resources and attention, some say the solutions are more complicated. Earlier this week, we heard from a panel of 6 people directly affected by gun violence. Columbine shooting survivor Austin Eubanks offered his thoughts on the complex problem.
It's not just mental health, and it's not just weapons. You have to look at the presence of adverse childhood experiences that have been prevalent in all of these perpetrators that have led to isolation and loneliness later in life, that therefore creates this ideation about committing a crime of this nature.
Psychologist and CBS News contributor Lisa Damour joins us at the table to discuss. Lisa, good morning.
Good morning.
We keep hearing that just because if you suffer from a mental illness, most mentally ill people are not violent people or dangerous, yet the go-to in all of these cases seems to be they're mentally ill.
That's right. And, you know, overwhelmingly, people who are mentally ill are not dangerous. And the other thing that we know is that in most cases of violence, there are a lot of factors, not mental illness, that bring violence about. So we worry that we are stigmatizing the mentally ill unfairly, and that we are not paying attention to factors beyond mental illness that do contribute to violence.
Factors like?
Factors like having a history of violence, having access to weaponry, those things that we know are really significant.
We've heard a lot about people saying, you know, if you see anything, any of this kinds of behavior, give us some sense, though, about the extent to which, I mean, when we all were growing up, there were kids who said things that were out of bounds. They never did anything. Give us a sense of what it's like as an adolescent and what we should be looking for.
Sure. So, you know, our efforts to come up with some perfect personality profile that will, you know, tell us this person will commit violence, those don't work. What we do know always is that the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So if somebody has been violent, if they are threatening, if they're saying they want to harm people, we should take that very seriously.
Something we heard from the president yesterday was his belief that there were a lack of mental institutions and facilities to treat some of these people in the country. He cited New York as an example. Are there a lack of mental institutions in this country?
Well, we did away with mental institutions for good reasons. There is certainly a lack of adequate services. There are a lot of gaps in our system, and we need to fill those and bring back, you know, services that really can catch people in a social safety net. But you cannot ethically or practically detain large numbers of people because you think they might be violent.
So what are the steps, though? I mean, he mentioned that this boy, Nicholas Cruz, didn't have any criminal past. There were sort of nowhere to put him, nothing to do with him. What are the steps in a situation like that?
Well, one thing that we need excellent educational facilities that can take care of kids who are also having emotional and behavioral problems. You know, and that is part of a safety net that we actually need to enhance. You know, there are things like that. I also think we have to be realistic that there's no way to perfectly predict or prevent violence. And so mental health solutions will always be partial. We're always going to need other solutions too.
Does this case feel different to you this time? As a psychologist and a mother, I'm wondering, as you're watching this, people keep thinking maybe this time there will be changes. What are you looking at? What are you thinking?
Well, you know, it's been quite remarkable to watch these teenagers in Parkland respond, and there is something that feels different. You know, one is, I think, for many, there's been this sense of helplessness in the face of these events, especially as they continue to occur and policies and laws don't change. And so these teenagers have refused to be helpless. And, you know, these teenagers bring a couple of things to the table that we haven't seen before. You know, one is they are teenagers who are willing to exercise their willingness to question authority, which teenagers are very good at doing. The other thing is that they were there. You know, they are talking as witnesses. They are talking as survivors. And that's a pretty powerful combination.
And they're also going to be mentally scarred as well. Austin Eubanks, who I spoke with, the Columbine survivor, very lucky.
Yeah.
Scarred for life. He says he still battles the trauma from surviving.
These are traumas.
Yeah.
And people who survive, you know, are still heavily traumatized.
Lisa Damour, thank you so much. Great to have you on set.